Well, good morning. As we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, May 13th, year 2024, on a Monday morning, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, the likes of you out there. And make it your business to enhance and fortify this concept called public access, as uh, as indeed it should and ought to um, not only allow us to feel this way, but encourages us, and then of course always a good feeling to be engaged in a scenario where mostly the results of these engagements are good by nature and positive and constructive. These are kind of words that we kind of tend to forget. Constructive, and uh, doing good for the common good. Um, and then, of course, I mean, if I always bring my demeanor as an artist into to the forefront. To uh, if at all I'm in the mood to get into a half-hour ordeal or 1 hour ordeal in my tight schedule, I would think that maybe I'll need to have more sophisticated tools in order to be able to evaluate accordingly, efficiently. So, I get to, and we tend to forget really how precious our time is. Not that we need to be going around behaving crazed or unbearable to communicate with or asocial, but rather just the fact when it comes to knowing yourself, you know what's good for you, you know what you should avoid, you know which directions not to choose to go, which gatherings not to choose to participate with, and things of this nature. But it, being a part of of public access that happens to serve as a allows you to quickly enough adapt it as a part of your lifestyle. And it is crucial to be able to consider something as add something to that which consists of your personality and of your demeanor and of your desire for action and of your initiation and just the spirits of uh, I don't know if I should say volunteering, but kind of making yourself available. And sometimes I used to think that I should only seek the presence or the company of those that are really well known. Growing up in my early 20s, it was like the big names, the big speakers, the uh, the world of sophistication to come, mixed with the world of sophistication that that is in place already, um, feels the wrath of basic reality of the futuristic age, which happens to be our generation, which actually I think that we're not aware enough to what extent we already like not already we were introduced, and in the timing and in the fashion that we were introduced, we had more impact, um, than we understand that indeed it is the case in real life. So sometimes I do feel like I should kind of give myself a little more credit, just because creation itself is you, yourself, and you. So giving recognition to you, or giving yourself some recognition, it works. It's a good feeling to be able to know that at least the road ahead will benefit from preciseness and mindfulness of details And being detail oriented definitely doesn't hurt. But creating an access to, I would say, a center that is detached from the obviousness of that which we have to go through in order to acquire some knowledge or some words of wisdom, or just interesting suggestions from someone who went through whatever and then thought that he or she has something to contribute, and you will happen to be the person that will decide to hang in there a little longer and listen to what they have to say, and then say, wow, okay, I, I am I'm game, I'm ready, I'm willing. But if you're lucky enough to be able to avoid yourself from finding yourself in the midst of some drama or high tension scenario or a situation that's kind of of the nature that can go out of hand pretty quickly, and you realize every setback is not a lovely idea, not a great scenario to suddenly find yourself that you're a part of it. And um, sometimes, yeah, maybe in the early stages, I would find myself in the studio, uh, being more more of the self that I dragged into the studio from the outside world. And it is an outside world, as your studio should be really the the other half of the coin, the and it can be fairly radically different. But of course, if you're a part of the process, you won't feel this violent shifts, as many people find themselves victims in the stages of that violent shift, even though it's all done in the name of the love. I won't say the love of wisdom to make it philosophy, but the love of philosophy to make it practical. And knowing that experimentation, even if it's not done by you, will always be available there. You can always put it on display. You can always have it as a as a backup, as a background backup. And you will, and of course, when I say in this case you will, I'm trying to tell you that I'm actually speaking to myself, telling myself, I will, of course I will. And maybe you will because I already did. And maybe you will, due to the fact that I say no matter that I already was asked this question, I already answered this question, I already was asked this request, I already answered the request, I already favored the request, I already did something about the request itself, I already fulfilled the need of the side that placed this request, and it so happened to be that someone needs your help somewhere, and then you can make the decision, um, and you can always find yourself saying, "Yeah, I wish I could share more," but to some people who ask you for $1 and you give them $3, that's three times the amount they supposedly needed. That's a good deal. That's a good feel. That's a good uh, second in our life that carries some punch to it, some meaning, and they will kind of surface at some point. And another thing with surfacing, I hear that from a lot of artists, and I did go through it myself. That you, because you like, but the artists that I know, they're they're full of soul and spirit, but they're like machines that work well. They're a conditioned, oily machine. They're self-aware in a very peculiar, specific way. Um, a level of intensity is fairly visible, but this kind of intensity turns out to be a source of strength. and it been put to test more than once, so one can estimate certain things to a high uh, degree of certainty, because that's just the way it is. If you need 51 and you always have between 67 and 83, I don't think you need to worry. Um, I think it goes around with a seal of guarantee and assurance that an abandonment won't be taking place. So, speaking philosophically, in the name of the love of philosophy, you seek normalcy. You seek straightforwardness of reality that you want to hang on to without explaining too much why or sharing with the entire world your reservations in order for the entire world to join you in your quest. I don't think that's necessary. But I mean, but then you can decide that it is necessary and it's just fine. But people when people know better, especially I would say those that are kind of experienced and more adventurous by nature, um, they probably the way they feel hold some enough water to make that vessel feel uh, floatable, and and it's just like that scene that we can describe to ourselves. Well, he seemed like he's done it more once or twice. I like this way of approaching things. It seems like you've done that once or twice in the past, and then there's just a smirkish smile, and then there's this kind of level of shyness that is so brief that by the time you feel like you have something to say about certain things, it was just completely instantly outdated. You so switch into plan B. Now I would say pre-plan B. The plan that happens to be pre-plan B is a very good place to be. Um, because initiation in that zone, in that degree, is something that at the early beginning goes unnoticed. And if you're realizing it fairly early, you get to benefit from it. And the time, as limited or not, that it will be there, it's not known to hang around for much longer than what we that what it thinks that is sufficient and needed. But we can definitely use a little more of that wonderful godlish liquid, some gel, some kind of like runny and clear and opaque and transparent and what's you know the story carrier to all destinations. That device will never be without stories to offer. That's a device that will go around and offer stories. That's our way of saying, um, let me hand you something, a 40 pager, something like that, whatever. Lower than 100, higher than 40, something like that. And then there's wisdom to be presented with the proper respect for poetry, because poetry governs the way the sharp angles that the system can take and withstand due to that potential, uh, falling apartness. Yeah, it's not that it's it's not that it's kind of just breaking down and then it's coming. At some point, it's going to go all the way down. It's unforgiving currents that are taking place that you are not necessarily um, you will not necessarily have access or find yourself being granted. that access. You want to get from point to B, A to B, and you're point A, and you're going to point B, and you don't want any high tensions there. You just want to be able to go from your point to your point, and but in real life, you can get away with quite a lot being able to pretend. That power is actually pretty significant if you manage to keep a straight face through the process that supposedly supposed to ought uh, supposed to help you, supposed to have the answer, supposed to satisfy you at the end of the session, because it was just created to be compatible with your nature, with with who you are and what you are, and uh, what it is that makes you who you are, and the ingredients, and each ingredient from 0 to 100 in itself. Full understanding of self, understanding of structures, understanding of those the relationship between piles, certain piles of of things, of things, of threads, of uh, independent pigments, individual formation of color, you know, snapping out of that pigment zone into the early stages of colors. Color, show me your color. I never heard anyone say, "Show me your pigments." I don't really, from all the people that I know that their business with paint and brushes and surfaces and whatnot, but they never said, "Oh, you should have seen the pigments that I used lately, or this new composition of mine, the pigment choice." It would have sounded so much better if you say color choice. But anyway, but it's a whole different reality. I realized, and not difficult to consume, to adjust, to um, 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 you know, digest and be ready for phase two. Like fairly quickly, because if things do happen quickly, which usually it doesn't, but at least if it does, you want to be ready. Crucial. This is the difference between I'll see you in 8 months, or you're advancing to the next level as we speak today. So you can choose to stay longer to make get acquainted with other aspects of power. But yes, we acknowledge the fact that you're here because you're powerful to a certain degree and unique in that kind of strength that it manifests. That the power can really produce strength that vis-a-vis manifestations of just normal codes of conduct that would make sense to most people out there. Yeah, you can. I'm a great believer that you can just pull any person as the world is in motion through the billions of individuals that are there, and introduce a, a, a logo of common sense, of of reason, of reasoning, of reasoning, and of being able to be the one that will do the reasoning, and come back uh, with an uplifting message. People are just kind of always like this, like this. Suddenly they get the good news. No, not the good news. They get good news. And so wait a second. Wow. Yeah. Wow. 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 Suddenly there's 23 different items out of 117 that you can just put aside instantly. You put it instantly because you don't want to find yourself second guessing yourself, and you immediately bear the wrath of goodness and power in an even purer consistency that it already is. So that's a lot to be said, but also you realize, my God, these are things that you're finding out then you have a feeling deep inside you that would never, this, your understanding of it would never go away. It would never, um, um, uh, it would never try to de-escalate a situation that actually is good for it, for her, for him, for them, for us. It just wouldn't, you know. Uh, I mean, we're smart enough to realize this, and oh my God, that we actually got to a point where we get to meet our idol or have the chance to go and visit a place we always wanted to, and have an opportunity to go and meet some people that you always wish that you could, and it's all being granted and it's good, and you are suddenly a mature person because you implement quietly yet efficiently things that you learned for years. And I can tell you that actually it's familiar to me from one real engagement that I had when I was like 15. When I was like, let me share with you, 15, and I arrived to from one boarding school to another. Ninth grade, I was in one boarding school, and then 10th grade, I moved to this magical boarding school. Magic, magic. Beautiful people, thoughtfulness, eh, intelligentsia, intelligentsia, pure intelligentsia. Like I'm 15 and I'm like surrounded by professors and teachers that are just like really, really, even through the stupidest, clear that you're like surrounded by greatness. So that was, and it was, I don't even want to start talking about it. There's too much goodness involved. But they had a music room there, and I'm for 15, and it was this Russian, because this boarding school was consisted of many um, kids from, I don't know, 40 countries, whatever. And there was a music room there, and there was a Russian kid. He was maybe 13 years old. And I always loved the drums, never really learned anything. I couldn't play the drums if my life depended on it, but I knew this was my instrument. And this Russian kid was playing, and I said, I'm in heaven, and I'm scared to death because he was so advanced. It was so advanced. It was like early to mid 70s. And I was scared to sit in front of a person that knew so much. That was many years ago. So, and I remember that I said the things that most attracted me in this scenario of suddenly realizing greatness is that even if a bit of it will be something that I own later on down the road, if I'll find myself still practicing, still wanting, still taking part in and within, I it it will be more than I can handle. It will be just too good to be true, even a little bit. Now, and I knew right there, right then, that I can definitely secure a little bit of it into the permanence aspect of my life without any hesitation. And that actually really what really took place. So that means as I was contemplating, as I was thinking as a 15-year-old, this is just too good to be true. You're facing something that is clear to you what you're facing because it's a part of what your mother nature inner journey taking place within you was and is all about. Suddenly it's been heightened by an encounter you have with a thing, with someone, with a moment, with it's just fantastic. So I guess I didn't have to do much for this kid to teach me how to play the drums, and it was something that took all of my attention. I don't know how I graduated at ninth grade, or was it 10th grade or something like that. How with so many distractions being involved with my passion, drums, and having this wonderful genius in our boarding school that was so open and so willing, so giving. And turns out that he grew up in Moscow and he went to the conservatorium because he was considered like a. Anyway, so what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that due to that encounter, due to that encounter, it happens to be an encounter that leave an impression that never really goes away. It's not that the moment and its vividness doesn't go away either. It's not like the vividness fades into the thin air and the recollection is positioned somewhere, but is muffled, though, because of course you start accumulating layers on it. Unless you use it on a daily basis, it's going to be, it's going to get buried. It's going to get muffled, So not a good idea to lose clarity in in the midst of an engagement about transparency. You want to have a see-through scenario situation in order to create that meaning that says that says be clear. You know, you come, you approach. There's supposedly an interaction is about to take place. Do you mind making yourself clear? Make yourself clear. Make yourself clear. Well, come speak to me in aphorisms. Tell me a whole story in like a three-liner. Come with a proverb as your tricky weapon, the weaponry that will allow you to survive. You want to survive in that arena, in that square, whatever, then that place of gathering, and you know enough to know that human quality there is second to none, and you want to be a part of it, not because you think you're second to none, it's because you think you deserve, if only by the nature of your passion. Your passion is intact, and your passion is pretty firm, and your passion is standing for you. Your passion is kind of in a weirdish, mysterious, royalish, fantastic way. Is making it happen. You get. It's not like you. If we spoke about the savings account, that you consider, putting $1,000 a day into your savings account, that would be kind of nice and unusual. But just as much, if you have that level of conviction when it comes to the exuberance is concerned, even with a few cents a day, as long as it's daily, you're good to go. You own the moment. You own the moment. You own the enlightenment of that moment, or the enlightenment of that moment produces, uh, due to, and because of, and thanks to, and as a result of. I can go, actually, that playfulness. I like that playfulness. The playfulness that triggers playfulness, and then you realize you will live in a world of playfulness, playfulness, and then it's turned out to be a little more real than you thought it would be, because even you about your own qualities, you had doubts. How sure are you that you're sensing and experiencing that which you think that you do, and that which you actually choose to explain to me, for example, right now, that indeed that's the case? I need to have a little more confirmation as far as your emotional, um, becoming, based on a technique and things that happen in front that I can examine, that I can see, that I'm fairly uh, impressed by. If only I base it on you out of the entire mountain of information on certain moments of greatness. I remember, without showing off too much or raving too much, there were a few times in my life where when I was experimenting and got to a certain acceptable level of freestyling, experimental playing music, fusion, abstract, just with paint, being a painter now, expressing the abstract, the the uh, the unique expression of abstract itself that will make you really find yourself venturing to look for neighboring sensations. And like, surrealism is um, is not more potentially baffling as expressionism, even though expressionism is kind of self-explanatory in a painful way, because it's super simple. It's just a statement that doesn't leave much doubt. Or, oh, let's venture into expressionism. So what do we need to do? We need to make our best to be able to express all of the sensations that are creative or due to the creative nature of my being, and they happen to be a part of my being, so they have to not only live it that way but also respond to it in that technique, in that approach. So and you realize that actually that you know enough to know that you don't need to do much, really. You especially you, because you worked on it. It's like having a major test, and you take your chances and you focus more on certain subject matters than others for the test, because you have a feeling that that's what they're going to do. And sometimes that's exactly what will happen. So remember that moment where you get the test and you flip through the questions, you say, "Thank you, God." You know, you know that the most important aspect of it now that is supposed to challenge you, you have answers to, correct ones. So, I mean, that's an awesome feeling. But you know that also, that you know enough to say, okay, I I think I can predict what's going to happen here. Maybe not the details of details, but I think I know what's going to be taking place now. And it's not like you're going to change or anything. You're just going to do it the way you know that you should do it to make it right, and to make it that you don't, that if you want a second engagement with the same source, it would be for the sake of going one step even up higher, not going over the details of that which already took place, that maybe you failed to be emotionally compatible and ready. So now you have to revisit it. Not the end of the world, but not something you would like to repeat. These processes, they're very demanding. Some of them are very short and very touch and go, but still, nevertheless, it's the impact that it will have on your life is incredible. The impact they will have on the opinion of people in the world of you, about you, how in what fashion they're going to form their attitude towards your artistic endeavors, and their attempt to do the right thing will be also by artistic nature. So you add to that you have the knowledge of knowing enough to know that carry those certain items, that if you have to stop abruptly or suddenly and the crowd is behind you or around you, you will be able to show your credentials. It's like you're showing your idea, that but a certain idea that is so powerful that people, when they see that, they give you the respect you deserve. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. Yeah, it's almost like if a cop stops you, or you were speeding, or stop sign, or failing to signal something, and then you have a card from a friend that really likes you, and he say, if you ever stop by the police, show them their card, and it might be helpful. And you show it, and it sometimes it works, and sometimes people say, okay, we're going to let you off with a warning. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually, if you reflect and you say, I hope I will never have to use this card again. It's like, suddenly you feel strange. Why? Because your code of conduct, your work ethics are pretty solid. You don't get to change it on a daily basis. And that's what actually kind of brings about the unique aspect of the nature of your engagement, artistic engagement, of course, because it's a daily engagement, a weekly, a monthly, yearly. It's an always engagement. It's like, and you know that. Of course, you know that. Of course, you know that, because otherwise, you and I won't be here together. Because you can only be here together here in this uh, fashion and with the people that you ask, because you know you got some things that are going on for you for you to be a part of this group. Then you can take it for granted as much as you want, as long as you don't forget that when the question is being asked, two things gonna happen, must happen. You gotta be ready to answer, and you have to make sure you know the answer, the correct answer. Because he can be willing to answer and you know nothing about what the answer to these questions or the questions to come are. But anyway, nothing wrong in feeling good about yourself, even if it involves being somewhat cliche and somewhat predictable. So, because well, we deserve a rest from that constant desire to be sophisticated and complex and having my chocolate. Hmm. Wow, it's so delicious. Early morning, um, May 13th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. And I just wanted to share with you that this past Friday, May 10th, we had a wonderful opening of the works by Rayner, Matt Rayner. And so his show is on display here at LTV. It's a monthly show that I've been curating for many, many years. And this particular show will be up through the first week of June. And we hope to see you here at LTV Monday through Friday, definitely 9 to 5. And then if you happen to come to any of the performances that are taking place here at LTV Studios, whether it's theater or music, you'll get a chance to see the artwork and maybe acquire a little further into the concept of public access. Definitely not a bad idea. And let me see. Um, if let's see what's going on here. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, that's not too bad. what I wanted to do with you and about the concept that is mhm. Yeah, that's good. uh 1/100 1/100 will be will be all on my and here it's gonna be one. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. Just um wanted to give you like the other layer, the first layer of the second stage, because you have, I don't know, 85 layers in the first stage, and suddenly it's just a a very unique art forming. Um, you're starting to realize what it really means to upgrade yourself as an artist. So there's let's see, yes, there's a so, well, of course, this, complacency is something that will cause us to worry about a thing or two about our journey, and it's like it's like a feast in the night of you know the night of flesh, I call it. So you become reacquainted with the obviousness, with the basic concepts of your old habits, that you really tried very hard to kind of put it aside in order to allow some room for growth. Um, I call it the midnight sighs, SIGHS, and and it's like almost like serves like an illumination of some hidden paths and like a safe haven, kind of thing that is more available than our eyes or our attention can capture. So this is like kind of finding yourself in the early stages of the second step. That is really an incredible change, incredible elevation. Suddenly you realize it's like, okay, so you took like 2 dozen tennis lessons, and the same coach that gave you the lessons happened to be also a very professional player, and suddenly he plays a game with you, and you realize you are just absolutely a drop of water in the ocean of this power and talent and endless possibilities and capabilities. So yeah, he sends you to the height of the first stage in order to de-escalate and diffuse and come back to the early stages of the second step with this, not only humility but a unique humility. Is the grains, put all the grains of uh, of despair, those grains of despair that linger inside the moments that are taking place. You will, get rid of that grains of despair and hold on to the reflection that pretty much keeps you going. And it's like the moment before you get into oblivion, that you know that you need to accept those moments of complete exposure, complete uh, uh, out of control completely. This is the stage where you leave it in the hands either of Mother Nature or those individuals who suddenly make it upon themselves to pick up where you left off, for your own sake also. So the under the watchful eye of the iron fist of art, You on top of those grazed leftovers, you look for the opportunities to salvage. And then, okay, yeah, I mean, I can see you being able to suspend your reflections, uh, like and maybe realizing the importance of blending something that you always thought is a yeah, believe in blending with the strange uh, aspect of the question or the scenario at hand. So you do that, and it's going to work for you. And then, of course, you have to go through dignity, address this issue, decipher it, make it work for you, make it accessible. Because in the future, you're going to have to use it or make it aware of what it is that you go through. Probably you won't have to do that because it will know already, just because it will know. Um Resisting the temptation to ask, to resisting the urge to question the foreseen fate. Yeah, like the final call arrives loaded with time, and that's really pretty much taking place and it's known uh, to all the bystanders. Yeah, I forgot to say we need to accept the bystanders into our lives. This cannot be done without. And the final call comes loaded with time. Loaded with time, this time with time. And it's just that the image, brick by brick, where you elevate the horizon. Yeah. I always love this concept of being able to elevate the horizon. Don't know exactly what it means, but just make me feel that I can secure my strength by going through this feeling and belonging to the uh, what the grasshopper reveals to us in the light, in its delight, and we're always going to find ourselves, soul searching, so important, yet so impossible, so difficult, but so important, unbelievable. Yeah, it's a, and then finding some soulmates and finding that you can always find trash under the layouts and realizing the priceless sense of green rivers. The spooky green rivers. Have you heard of that? I don't know exactly what it means, but I, I feel that I know. So I speak of something that I cannot know, but I know that it will just maybe will take. Won't I won't be able to reach the source that's granting me this recollection, and I love that to be able to um, weather the storm in underground. That's but with an option to, but peaking, Peaking, is it peaking? No, King. Yeah, but with the option to be able to peak, not the option, the ability. So it's just a very twisted scenario description of reality that actually is super simple and super down to earth and super in that sense. So, yes, and then you get to the point where you kind of live and learn. Of course, we have to go through that, and we have to also make it be compatible with that which we have already accomplished and achieved, and and put aside to rest, and it's there awaiting the next encounter we're going to have with it. So yeah, you you catch your breath, you catch your breath. Um, it was so needed, especially when it's needed that you're actually aware of it and then doing something about it. That's almost like too good to be true. It's a simple gesture to please, like to please the needy, the homeless. I don't know. You can choose whatever you want to choose. They will depict what you exactly mean, but the real needy. It doesn't take much to identify the needy. Well, if you start with yourself, you'd always have an easy time. You don't have to travel so far away in order to. So, and then you can get lucky. You can feel lucky and you also get lucky because the things that you engaged in through your life and all this will uh, uh, have openings that might fit and suit you very much for your future, for your immediate future, for the long run future. And it's a good thing to be able to secure for you know how do they say masters brewed with pride. Brewed, yes, brew, yes. So, so, so what did I say? The master brewed with pride in the quiet of the night till it was all kind of oxygen deprived, and love and care could only salvage the soul and the sensitive aspects of being the beings that we are. I think that's like really a good descriptions with pleasure and certainty to be the beings that we are with pleasure and 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 certainty. I mean, that's under the veil of complacency. You come and you feast upon the sudden flesh of night, and then you can grieve in the dark hearts later. In the midst of midnight sighs, illuminates the path to a forbidden haven in the shadows, under the watchful eye of the iron fist. Seared, dropped the remnants of grazed leftovers, maintaining a cautious distance from fleeting opportunities to salvage the grains of despair that linger in the moments. Behold, behold the reflection, suspended in the principle, I guess, of the Persephone, something like along that perceive. What was it? The blending and singing with the strange and often, and then it's the Yeah, so that's a great way to secure, I would say. Oh boy, time goes by so fast. It's unbelievable. Um, yeah, that reminds me of this short poem that I wrote once. Some indulge in sweeping, comforting dreams, a journey, a valid brine to flush out the allergy. Some indulge in sweeping, comforting dreams. It brings a finality to a fitting season, a proper dress code. Yeah, there's so much. There's so much to it. So, yeah, I meant to tell you more about this engagement when I was 15, that moment of truth in my boarding school with this genius young drummer that suddenly opened the magic, the world of that magic, the endless possibilities, the that which I looked forward to, and then eventually, obviously, decided to adapt recklessness only so I can excuse my failures in the future and actually consider them as exactly the opposite. Triumphing. Every time I fail, I triumph miserably. And it sounds strange, but actually, you know what? It works. It really works. That when you allow yourself to uh, define that uniqueness, the uniqueness of that moment, and it's just I don't know how to begin to describe the benefits that will come from it. The hassle-free life that we can securing for ourselves, uh, and identifying energy draining factors and just kind of pushing them out of our path, just limiting the amount of friction and obstacles so casually finding their way to our lives, and it's slowing down factors. I mean, who needs it in a world that is so fast and so demanding and so abrupt and so um, unforgiving sometimes? I mean, yeah, you can still grasp that level of intensity, but still, you know, make sure that you attend to your plans and to your aspirations, dreams, whatever you want to call it. It's not a bad idea. You don't feel like you have to go around and justify yourself and what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it and for what sake. You don't owe people explanations. They will know, they will get to know about you when you start showing them your art. Expose yourself, exhibit your work, invite people, let them come. Let them deal with their emotions, and let them deal with that which your creations will set the stage for and awaken within them. Let them. It's okay. You do your job, you release it, and then you can just be a wonderful in a wonderful forefront in the background, in the wonderful forefront in the background, in the wonderful forefront in the background. Remind remind yourself of that. So all I can say really is that we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we here this Monday morning, May 13th, year 2024, here with the Halolo Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good work. And remember, we're having, and we have for 27 years, art group shows, monthly art group shows of wonderful artists. Make it your business to get in touch with the LTV. Have a beautiful day.